Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to new standards of excellence.
Yes.
Say yes to engaging reportage with a difference.
Yes.
Introducing Yes International Magazine.
Now let's leave that as that aspect. We'll still come back to it. But I'd like to find out from you the idea, that the Hints magazine idea. How did it come about?
Well, I've told people this a number of times. The idea of Hints magazine belonged to one person, and that is Dr. Emmanuel Ibe Kachiku. Conceived the idea. We only got in because he was looking for people who could help him actualize the dream, and that was how someone like me got in. I wasn't the only one at that time. There were other people like Chidima Agu, like Kayode Ajala, like John Onwa, and a few other people who came on board. But to be frank with you, Hints was Dr. Kachiku's brainchild, and we only came to share in the dream and make it a reality.
Okay. What would you say made the Hints a household name back then?
Well, one, Hints was unique, talented people, young people. I was the youngest in the team at that time. Yes, I was the youngest, but people were very talented. And when I look back at that team, I doubt if you can find such talent, such creative power within a group very easily these days. That was one unique point. And then the concept itself, we worked our bones to the marrow. You can imagine what it takes writing those stories. Writing a romance story is different from regular journalism. You have to be a writer as well as a journalist. If you're a journalist and you do not have that creative writing skill, you cannot survive in Hints. No, you can't. So you must be a creative writer. You must have exceptional writing skills. And those of us in the pioneer team of Hints had such talents in different ways. Chidima Agu had her own unique skills. Whenever I read her stories, I keep asking her in the newsroom, in the editorial room there, how do you manage to write this? And she would ask me too, you're asking me how I manage to do this. How do you manage to do yours? Whenever I read your stories too, I wonder how you manage to put it together. So those were the kind of people we had in that team, So there was, and then Dr. Kachiku himself was highly gifted in what we were doing. He was the leader of the team. He led from behind the curtain. At a point in time, people did not even know that he owned the magazine. People felt that the magazine belonged to me because I was the one in the public eye. But he was the one driving us from behind the curtain. And he had such, I'll tell you, even now, when people call me the king of romance journalism, I say to some of my friends, I'm not the king of romance journalism. Dr. Ibe Kachiku is the king of romance journalism. I wish I could show you some of the stories he wrote at that time. And you know that our stories don't carry bylines. We just write them and we just put them there. You cannot see bylines. You cannot see anything being attributed to anybody.
Okay. Now,
so these were very strong points at that time for the magazine.
Okay. Now, the bulk of the stories that you published then, a lot of people felt they were fiction. Were they fiction or non-fiction?
You want me to give away a trade secret? We call those stories true life romances.
Okay.
True life experiences.
Okay.
When you look at the Hints logo, you will see it written under Hints, true life romances.
Okay.
What that means is that these are things that must have happened to someone, is happening to someone.
Okay.
They are real stories of people. But like I said earlier on, we are creative writers. You go have a good story, but if it's not well packaged and well presented, nobody is going to see the beauty in it.
Okay.
But I mean, all in all, they are true life experiences.
Okay.
I could know of your experience and decide to make a story for hints out of it.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call our stories fiction. They are not fiction.
Okay.
It's just that if you some of the stories I wrote, for instance, were experiences of people who were close to me. I wouldn't use their real names. I wouldn't give away their identity, but I would put in my creative skills to present the story, package the story, and present it so that even if the person it happened to comes across the story, he would know that this story is similar to mine. This looks like something that happened to me. But we embellish it, we make it presentable, we make it interesting, and then we sell it to the public.
Now, you later left Hints for Hearts. Why did you leave?
Well, I left that. That also is one of the fallout of being exposed to all that I was exposed to at that very young age. At the time I left Hint, I had spent about 5 or 6 years in the magazine as editor. And as a young person, I became very restless at a point in time. I was restless. I wanted a different environment. I wanted something different from Hint. Perhaps if I was this mature and exposed, I would just have taken it easy at that time. I wouldn't have made that move. But I was young and I was hot-headed and I was restless and I just wanted something different, and that was why I left. I did not have a quarrel with anybody in Hints. I did not. I was comfortable. I had all the goodies that came with my office, but I just wanted something different. Something was pushing me. I felt I had stayed on the same spot for too long. That was why I left.
Okay. Now, do you regret your leaving Hints for Hearts?
Yes, great. I'll be frank with you. I regret because I went into Hearts with my all, and because I had made a name for myself in Hints, quite a number of our colleagues, professionals, came along with me. They didn't understand why I was leaving Hints, but they just wanted to be where I was, and they came along with me. I took them to Hearts, and we started the paper. And because of the kind of firepower that we had, the kind of skills and everything, Hearts was an instant success. But not too long down the line, I began to have problems with the investor, and it was just one investor. When I look back now, I will tell you very frankly that he just even didn't understand what we had in our hands. He didn't know how big it was. For us to have done a magazine that was an instant hit, put it in the market, and from day one, it sold out. And then we began to grow it from there. But I'll tell you this, we didn't even have the tools, the necessary tools to do the job, because the investment was not really that high. But the man put in this little investment. We didn't even have computers. We were doing typesetting in business centers. Every week, we would do the page laying and everything, go take them to a business center and have them done. Then we'll go from there to lithography, which was also done outside, and then we'll take to the printers. So that was the kind of environment we were working under. But the investor did not see it this way. Maybe he didn't have the funds to put in, but he wanted to start taking out of the business very early. He believed that we were making so much money. And I tried to explain these things that, look, even if we're making money, we're also putting back a lot. We have to buy newsprint, buy art paper, pay for this. Members of staff were going for months without salary at Hearts. But they kept trudging on because they believed in it and they had left Hints. They couldn't go back to Hints. And for me, the pain was that I was the one they followed. So I had a huge burden on my head not to let them down. So when the investors started all this wahala, I guess I lost my patience, and I let him know my mind. And I also let him know that if there was no change, I would leave. Of course, there was no change. Instead of there being a change, the situation got worse. So I told my team I was leaving, and I left. I walked out of the business.
And you started Sweethearts.
Yes.
And that was also an issue.
Well, that had an issue because he now came after me and said I was trying to pass off Sweethearts as Hearts. So there was a litigation, there was an interim injunction from the courts that we should not publish Sweethearts again. And then we had to obey the courts.
Now, you fought too many battles in that your young age, business-wise, marriage-wise. How were you able to get over all those battles?
Well, it was God. It was really bad at that time, Azu. I must tell you, it was really bad. It was, the battles were even more than people know. You have talked about marriage, yes. You have talked about the business, yes. But there were also other battles. There were also other battles that were not open to the public. But I give the glory to God that I came out of all that alive. Because some will go into such battles and today they will be history. It could only have been God that sustained me, brought me out of it, and gave me another chance. I will also give credit to one man, and that's the same person who gave me the first opportunity, Dr. Kachiku. Because at that time when that crisis was raging, he looked for me. He sent people to look for me, I was doing a column for Sunday Punch, and the people he sent went to Sunday Punch, not knowing that I was not a full-time staff there. So at the time they went, I was not there. They left a message. I did not get the message, until about, just on my own, about 4 or 5 months after he had been looking for me. I remembered him, and something kept telling me that I should go and see him, that if there was anyone who could help me out of this crisis that I found myself in, that person is Dr. Ibe Kachiku. So I wasn't sure he would welcome me, I wasn't sure because I remembered how I walked out of Hints. I remember setting up arts that now gave Hints competition. So I kept wondering in my mind, if I go back to this man to say I've come to see him, would he even welcome me? But then I summoned courage and I went to see him. And I remember when I entered his office at VI, Victoria Island Extension, I think, yes. I entered his office and the first thing he said was, "Hey, Kayode, where have you been? I've been looking for you." I said, looking for me? He said, "Yes, I sent this person, I sent that person to go and get you for me, but they couldn't find you. Where have you been?" I said, "Well, I've been lying low." He said, "I heard all that happened to you. I read some of these things in the papers and I kept wondering why you didn't reach out to me." I just stood there staring at him stupidly. So he said, "Sit down. What are we going to do?" I said, "Well, the situation is still bad. It's still very tough." He said, "Okay, what are we going to do? What do you want me to do?" I kept looking at him. I kept staring at him. I didn't know what to ask for. And he said, "Okay, do you want your job back?" I said, "Which job?" He said, "Your job at Hints. Do you want it back?" I said, "Sure."